Hey Digi artists out there, I'm Melanie from U Designs, where I bring you techniques to help you have a better and faster workflow in your creative designs. In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can change the background and also match the background with your subject with a powerful technique that I'll be sharing with you. When you don't know this technique, you can be having a background and a subject that looks just like cut and paste and they don't actually belong together and waste a lot of extra time. So I'm going to show you this powerful, fast technique you can use to match the lighting with your new background. Before I get into the video, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like and share the videos if you found them helpful. Okay, inside of Photoshop here, you'll see that this is my new background that I have. I am working in Photoshop CC 2019, and if I show you the original image, this is what I had. So when working with this technique, it really helps if you have contrast between the subject you'd like to remove and the background. So really adding some contrast is going to help you with this technique, and you can do so by quickly throwing on a levels adjustment layer just to bring some contrast or brightness and contrast, either or. So with this, so that's what I was get. So we went from there to this, and as you can see, the skin color here has spills of blue, and that's what I want to show you. Is over here you can see that there's blue being spilled onto the subject. So this is what's going to be challenging for us. We're going to have to color correct this spill that's happening onto the subject when we put him into a completely different background, because as you can tell, this is more of a cool tone background, and the background I'm putting this person into has a very warm tone, okay, or match the lighting. So let's work from the ground up, and I have my new background there, but let's just select this layer, and then I'll go to quick selection tool, and when I hit this quick selection tool, you'll see that on the options bar I have select subject and select and mask, and this is a great way to select the subject from the background. So I like working this way, it's much faster. So I'm going to hit that, and what I'm doing is just clicking around the subject, and you can see that Photoshop does a fantastic job of selecting the subject for me. I do need to come in and do a little fine-tuning, because you want the marching ants to be exactly around the subject, and you can see right here. So make sure that you are getting the marching ants exactly tightly around the subject, and watch out for blank pixels that are sneaking their way in there. So with the quick selection tool, what I can do is come in here, hold Option Alt, and you see I have a minus here, and what I do is reduce the brush size a lot and get in there and just say hey, make this a tighter selection, and then I'll say minus this as well. We don't need that, it's a blank area. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. You can see I have the marching ants completely around this person. So then I can go up here and say select and mask. And when I do so, I'm in a new window. I have different views here. I'm not going to go over all of this, but you basically can work on this layer here. And this is showing us, if you work on black, it's showing us the selection and some of that spill we're getting from the original background that we had. So this is an easy fix. What we can do, the first thing I like to do, so there's a slider here as well, so that's all the way. I kind of like working like this so I can see a bit of the background, the original background. The first thing I do is click on Smart Radius. So this is a whole new window, by the way, okay, that opens up once I clicked on select and mask. This is a whole other window, and so first clicking on Smart Radius and also increasing this to about 1 or 2 pixels, you'll see that that tries to help me out a lot. Right there, Photoshop's doing a great job in edge detection. If you don't see it, you can turn it down like that. And then I can come over to the left here in the top and get the Refine Edge Brush tool, and I can You can play around with the hardness and spacing. I generally leave it to 0 and then come over here. And then what I want to do is get a nice small brush and just kind of go over the areas where I'm seeing the spill. So between the fingers, maybe here, and just kind of go around the image and see that, you're not getting much of that background. And also what I like to do is get a little bit of, not a really strong edge on the hair. So if I go over here to overlay, there's a pink mode here, and so you can see the spilling now of that green that I was telling you about, blue or green. Okay, so trying to get some of the hair to not look, and if I go to K, which is black, you'll see that I'm starting to get a nice, some of this edge back, and that's what I want. So it doesn't look so sharp. There we go. Okay, so that's looking good. Let's jump back to, just here to, let's go to black, and also let's check it out on white, and there we go. Okay, I think this looks pretty good. You can crank up the opacity values here to 100 to see how it's actually going to look, to help you out. And I generally don't play with these global refinements for this example, for finer masking, yes. But down in the output settings here on the right, you'll see that you have decontaminate colors. Decontaminate colors means is that it's going to help with that spill that I'm talking about, the environmental spill on the actual subject you're removing. So it tries to decontaminate that, and it also has a slider amount. So once I click on that, you can actually see that I've got it cranked up to 100%. I can bring that down to about 50. And you can see now that if I check and uncheck that, some of that blue spill from the ocean is kind of gone from the subject. So when we're done, let's say we're happy with those results, and say new layer with a layer mask, okay? And then go to output it, and we're back inside of Photoshop. Now, if you don't see this checkered like transparency background, then that means that you did something wrong. So you have to go back and make sure you're hitting output to layer mask, and then you should have something like this, okay? So you should have your original image, and you can see in here the mask that we just created. So here's our dude, and so what I want to do at this point, what I like to do is create a fill layer just to see how my masking was. So I can just go up here and go solid color and choose something like a different color from what that is, just to see how it looks, to check it out. Okay, so I'm going to delete these because I don't need them. But that's just how I check it. Now what I can do is bring my background and put my background beneath him. And so, just like that, we can see actually, right? So if I place the subject I place the subject into a new background, but he looks out of place. Why? Because the color on him, the color is not matching the environmental color. He's not matching the environmental color. So he looks like a cut and paste person, right? So here we can just click and drag using the move tool. I can also scale him as well. So what I might do is Command Control T and scale him up a little bit and move him over here somewhere. Doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to scale him up. So hit enter for that. Now, what I can do to help color correct him into this new image, I can throw on some adjustment layers. Okay, so the first thing I might want to do, and these will be clipping masks. And what are clipping masks? It means that it's only going to affect the layer beneath it. And so what you want to do is control click on the layer and say create a clipping mask, and you'll see a little arrow pointing down, and that means it's only going to affect the layer beneath it. It's not going to affect all the layers. Okay, so if I crank up this brightness, you'll see that it's only affecting him, not the background. That's what a clipping mask does. I kind of want to bring a little bit light onto him. I'm not sure I need more contrast, but there you have it. Okay, so next I'll add, let's see, I like curves because it brings some light, and I'll just kind of just increase it like this. And notice that I didn't do my clipping mask, so let's do the clipping mask. So it only affects him. So I'm just trying to bring some light because there's a lot of light here in this background compared to the lighting in the old background, right? So I'm trying to just bring a little bit of light in here. So that's looking pretty good. As you can see, we're still seeing some of the blue spill from the ocean on the previous background. So, okay, that's looking good to me. And then the last adjustment layer I'll do is vibrance to warm him up a bit, right? So the background now is very warm and he came from a cool background. So I'll increase the vibrance and again, create a clipping mask. And you can see right here what this does. It works with skin tones. So it's pretty fantastic. And overall saturation, I don't really want to mess with that too much. Maybe just about like, that's good. I'm getting a little bit of some color here that I don't like, so let's reduce this. Okay, great. All right, so with this done now, we can be like, all right, cool, you know? Okay, so with this, we can be like, okay, great, my subject is matching its new background. But if you want to take it to a better level or a more professional level, we'll have to do a little bit more work that's quick and easy, but will actually make your subject look like it really belongs in the background when we do the color matching. Okay, so I have a new blank layer here. Okay. And what I'm going to do is jump over to my brushes and I'm going to select B for brush. And basically what I'm doing is I'm going to be sampling the color from the background and kind of roughly painting around the edges of the subject so that he looks like he's part of the background. Okay, like he's actually there. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you're dropping down the opacity to a really low level. So I'm going to start with about 20, and if that's too strong, I'll, maybe bring that back down to about 15. Try this technique. We have to go to the background to sample the color, correct? And what they forget to do is jump back up to the color match layer to paint. So it's a two-step process. You're sampling the color from the background, and you're going back to the blank layer here to paint. So let's go ahead and try this. So I'm going to hold Option, and I get the eyedropper, which is the sampling from the background. And so kind of want like kind of a nice mid-range here. I think that's good. But I work with the left and right bracket keys to do this. So I've got my sample here, right? And then I jump back up to the color match layer, okay? And then what I want to do is just sort of start painting around the edges like this. Just roughly, doesn't have to be perfect. I can increase my brush size too. And I want to get those areas that have the blue, you see? Those blue areas there, I'm going to concentrate a little bit more on that. And don't mind you're going, what, this looks weird. Okay, we'll fix it in a second. Option Alt to sample. This time I want to sample more of the color up here. Okay, so jump back to the color match layer. So notice I'm going back to that layer. And what I want to do is paint around here, his hair and this part here. Because this is on the top part. All right, so once I've done that, okay, so that was pretty quick. What I'm going to do in the layers panel is change the blend mode. I'm going to change the blend mode to, and you can see what it's doing here, right? But so I'm going to choose soft light. And now look around the subject when I take this layer off and on. So it's very subtle, but look down here and you're seeing that, you know, he looks a little bit more like not so cut and paste. It's a subtle effect, but it makes him look like he belongs in there a little bit more. Just blends him in there a bit more. And if you can go back in here and just keep, you know, sampling and painting if it's not enough. So jump back to the color match here. I feel like around here could be. So I'm basically just sampling these pixels and painting it back, and then using a blend mode to kind of match it. So I could maybe also increase the opacity to like something like 25 here. Oops, 25, okay. So going back to the background layer, sampling, and going back to the color match. And here is when you can kind of click away to fix that, right? So that was kind of a giveaway that this person wasn't belonging into this background. So that's where you use this color matching technique to sample areas of color from the background and just kind of gently paint it over the edging of you're seeing that. All right, so I think that was pretty fast. So we changed the background and we color corrected and matched the lighting of the new background onto the subject so that they look like they actually belong in there, and it was seamless. And it doesn't look cut and paste. So we don't want anything to look cut and paste because that gives away the trick, right? Pretty cool, pretty fast, and quick and easy. I'll see you in the next one. I'll support this channel.